I do much of my fieldwork quite close to Tromsø, where we are sitting now. And here we have three species of these moths. It's the autumnal moth, the winter moth, and the scarce umber moth. And if you had been here 15 years ago, the last species I mentioned would not have been here. So it established itself around 2005. So at that time we started noticing quite suddenly, it was in 2005, that there is a third moth species there that we haven't seen before. And when we sampled some individuals and got them identified, we found that this is a more southern species that has managed to establish itself here in the north now. And that is probably related to a warmer climate. It could be the winter temperature that has been getting milder, because these moths overwinter as eggs, and the more southern species are less cold tolerant. And it could also be the temperature in spring when the larvae hatch from the eggs, because they need to be quite closely synchronized with the bud burst of the mountain birch to have good food quality. And we have shown in the lab that for southern species this synchrony improves when you have a warm spring. And I also work even further north in eastern Finnmark, the northernmost county of Norway. And here we have seen a similar story. There, 15-20 years ago, we had only the autumnal moth established, but then around 2005-06 we also started to have outbreaks of the winter moth. So it seems to have expanded its range northwards and eastwards. And this had quite dramatic consequences, because when these two species occur together, their outbreaks or population peaks tend to follow each other. So in some you get an outbreak that can last for as much as 5 or even 6 years, and that of course puts very heavy pressure on the forest. So what happened there is that very large areas of birch forest were killed, with mortality rate of the trees sometimes over 90%. And now, during the last 5 years, we've had a small peak of the autumnal moth there, the native species, and after that we have had an outbreak of the winter moth, the invasive species, which has gone on for 4 or 5 years. So it's really a sustained outbreak that is just going on and on. And when I'm up there and drive along the roads and see all this damage it is causing to the forest, it is sometimes quite disturbing to think that this is all caused by a species that was not here 15 years ago. So it's quite dramatic effect, and it's very easy to see with the naked eye. In northern Norway, really the only tree that forms forests is the mountain birch. And that means that when you have these outbreaks and the birch trees start to die, you lose pretty much the whole forest. If this had happened in southern Norway, where most people live, I think it would have been a large outcry from the population that we have to do something about this and what is causing this. But because it's in the north where very few people live, it hasn't received so much attention. I don't think most people in southern Norway know about this. They don't really know that this is probably the face of climate change in the northern part of the country. And I think that's true for many politicians in Norway as well. They are not really aware how dramatic the impact of these outbreaks is. I think it's just the tip of the iceberg compared to what is likely to be coming. And many people, I guess, especially in southern Norway, think that climate change is something that is, it's a thing for the future, but here in the north we are really seeing it now.